In 2025, Malawians made a decision to usher back into power Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika and the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, through ballot on 16 September. For many of those who cast their vote, the decision was largely driven by the party's manifesto, which hinged on a number of key areas, including food and agriculture, to ensure that every household is food secure. When he took over power in September last year, President Mutharika disclosed that as part of Economic Recovery Plan, the 4 F's of forex, fuel, food and fertilizer would be his key priority areas. For instance, on food security, President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika has repeatedly assured the nation that no one would die of hunger, promising steady flow of maize on the market and distribution of relief food during lean season.
My policy remains unchanged. No Malawian should die of hunger. Looking ahead, we intensify agricultural production to exceed domestic demand so that we can export the surplus. We uphold fiscal discipline and prioritize investments in key productive sectors, including mining, energy, roads, and rail infrastructure, to lower the cost of doing business, drive industrialization, and generate employment. Ultimately, our economy must uplift the living standards of all Malawians.
And as he marks 100 days in office, communities and opinion leaders in Mangochi and other districts in the eastern region are describing the journey as a success in areas of food, fertilizer, and fuel availability. Maize vendors, for instance, say unlike in the past, there is a steady flow of maize in both ADMAC depots and other markets where people are able to access and afford the staple food in abundance. James Boa, a maize vendor who plies his trade at Chiponde border and Mangochi Central Market, has some kind words for the new administration.
Bwana Chibwerere wa President atu Peter Mutharika, pano zindu zili bwino kwambiri.
It's no secret that things are now better following the return of President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika. In the past, we used to struggle to find maize to sell on the market, and when we found it, a lot of people could not afford to buy it.
Yusuf Wisiki, a resident of Malombe, who had just bought 3 bags of maize, recalls how once essential commodities like food became scarce in the past 5 years.
Chigoba mbuyo mutimagula awe almost 10,000. Koma pakadali pano pa chigoba tikuchigula pa 6,000.
In these 100 days, we have seen a drop in prices of maize and other basic needs. As you can see, I've just purchased 3 bags of maize, weighing 50 kilograms each.
Tumba lili magula 100,000. Koma panopa ndi 60,000 tanyamula tumba.
For sub-traditional authority Mpinganjira, living in close proximity to his subjects who used to struggle to access food was a nightmare. But now the chief says he can afford a smile because in 100 days of Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, signs of recovery are visible.
Unlike in the past when food was scarce and unaffordable, these days my subjects are not finding it hard to access maize.
Yao Chief Paramount Kawinga of Machinga, who has witnessed distribution of government relief food for more than once, equally shares the sentiments.
Choyamba ine mawanga ndithokoze Mulungu potipasanso mtsogolerinso yemwe pakati panagwira ntchito ndipo anthunso chifukwa cha ntchito yake yabwino imene iye anamayigwira abwereranso pa ntchito. Chachiwiri ndimuthokozenso ni president iyo Professor Peter Mutharika chifukwa choganizira ganizo limeneli kuti Malawi muno anthu akuvutika ndi njala koma ndiyesese ndithu ngakhale ndangolowa kumene pampando ndiwathandiza anthu ndipo lonjezo limene iye amanena likwaniritsidwe. Lero ife anthu akumachinga tili wokondwa kwa basi. Lero anthu akulandira chimanga choti azikadya, komanso pali dongosolo lakuti miyezi 6 anthu azilandirabe. Ndikhulupirira kuti chimenechi kwa wina aliyense ali wosangalala kwambiri.
Balaka is another district where communities used to struggle to access and afford food, but now the case is different. Bibu Yusuf Mdala is District Commissioner for Balaka.
Currently, there is a steady supply of maize in our admin depots, as well as among vendors. There is a steady supply of maize. Almost each and every big market in Balaka, we do have currently maize in stock, and people are able to buy. The same applies to the vendors. They have supply everywhere, and in terms of affordability, the prices are drastically reduced as compared to what used to be the past. As you know, the price for maize have been hovering around 100,000, 87,000 thereabout. But now we are buying around 53,000 thereabout. On average, that is. So the situation has really improved in terms of both availability as well as affordability.
On her part, Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Loza Fachimbilizi, assured people in the country that government has put in place measures to further stabilize the food situation.
We expect to be receiving about 1,500 metric tons every day. So we hope to finish receiving the maize from Zambia by 15th March, and that is the 200,000 metric tons. So we are also looking at some of our people that have gone into a situation of hunger because of the current disaster situation due to the heavy rains that are destroying their food stuff and houses. So this maize will also be used to feed those people. So we are in a good food situation in as far as the 100 days are concerned, and I really want to commend the President for such a remarkable achievement in 100 days.
Food availability and stable prices is presented in the Democratic Progressive Party DPP manifesto as part of a broader plan to stabilize the economy and improve living standards of Malawians at all levels. Upon assuming power, President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika pledged to respond to one of the key concerns facing farmers across the country. That's the scarcity of fertilizer. After 100 days in office, farmers are testifying how the DPP leadership has swiftly moved in to address the challenge. Madaliso Kasanga, 54, from TN Chilamwera in Cholo, is a happy man after successfully planting maize and groundnuts on the farm.
President atangolengeza kuti mtengo wa fertilizer wasika muzigula 10,000 kwacha pamene anthu ambiri anasangalala mutima kuti ya president watiganizira amuganiranso munthu wakumuzi.
Kasanga near stopped farming following a sharp rise in the price of fertilizer and seeds on the market last year.
Mene mitengo ya fertilizer imakhalira mujamene inakwerera zimatikhuza kwambiri. Anthu ambiri anaona kuti sakanaso ndi chakudya iya. Chifukwa analibe ndi mtengo wogwira. Tunaona kuti njala ipitirira.
Kasanga is among the smallholder farmers in Malawi who stepped into the 2025-2026 farming season with a sense of hopelessness and uncertainty. With the onset of the rainy season, their nervousness about accessing fertilizer, the crucial input for their farming, grew thicker, as explained by one Christina John from Makwete village in Mwanza.
Madandaula kwambiri timangulimira kuti nanga siti chizowerezi chatu timalima eti kumakoko atenga siti maziwa ako boya atepanga mascanning nankhala ko makolowera kuti ngagule siti maziwa munga ife kuti timasowa 150 siningapeze munga nthemene ali 145 ife sikanapeza kuti ngagule ngati kusowa jakudya siningapeze kuti ngagule fertilizer.
For Jesse Kayange, a Palombe-based farmer, not only did the rising cost of fertilizer induce panic, but also its unavailability on the market was a thorn in the flesh of several farmers.
Yeah, what's the anthu amavutika malingana ndi kugula kwa fertilizer ndi anthu timavutika kwambiri kuti tikagule fertilizer.
According to the Fertilizer Association of Malawi, by September last year, fertilizer suppliers had yet to stock their warehouses and had low volumes. At the heart of these uncertainties were revelations that the country had only 284,659 metric tons, far below the minimum annual requirement of 150,000 metric tons. The association's executive administrative officer, Hannah Makambera, said the persistent forest scarcity hindered its members from importing the essential input into the country. As if these worries were not enough, the future of the government-subsidized farm input program remained uncertain. This was the case due to the 16th September election, as farmers remained unsure who would form the next government. No wonder, on 4th of October, the day he was sworn in, President Mutharika had urgent issues on his desk to address. Top among them was the rising fertilizer prices and the unavailability on the local market due to forex limitations. Despite being in government for less than a month, President Mutharika allayed fertilizer scarcity fears when he announced the reintroduction of the Farm Input Subsidy Program, FISIP.
For 2025-2026 farming season. Mr. Speaker, sir, my administration will reintroduce Farm Input Subsidy Program FISIP this farming season, which will be launched in the second week of November 2025. This program will benefit 1.1 million households, each accessing 2 50 kg bags plus a 5 kg pack of seed of their choice. The beneficiaries will be paying only 10,000 per bag of
President Mutharika's remarks bore fruit following the FISIP launch in Mchinji, which marked the rollout of the program across the country. According to Minister of Agriculture, over 600,000 farmers out of the targeted 1.1 million farmers have redeemed their input under FISIP.
Fertilizer was one of the immediate areas of focus by his government. And when I was appointed by the President to be Minister of Agriculture, he made it very clear to me that whatever the case, FISP has to be implemented. And when we came in, we found that they had put the number of beneficiaries at 528, something like that. But when I presented that to the President, he thought the number was too small. So he instructed me to increase it to 1.1 million beneficiaries, and Cabinet approved that. So we budgeted for 1.1 million people. And as you can see, the fertilizer is now being distributed in all districts in this country. We are now at 43%, and we hope to reach 75% by mid-January and 100% by mid-February or end of January.
The President's long-term plan is to scale down fertilizer imports and encourage local production to shield farmers from volatile global prices. As he marks 100 days in office, the testimony from the local farmers suggests that his administration's approach to availability of fertilizer is off to a good start and that the ship is sailing in the right direction. This was a promise made, and it has been delivered bit by bit. At the time Professor Peter Mutharika took over the reins of power as Malawi's 7th president, the nation was in a deep economic crisis. Between 2021 and 2024, inflation rate averaged 25% and increased to 34.2% in the first 3 months of 2025. The policy rate was standing at 26% from 12% in 2020, and the country's official forex reserves were at their lowest in 10 years. Prices of goods and services skyrocketed, fuel queues were piling as reserves ran dry, and the number of people facing hunger kept growing. The economic environment had negatively affected businesses, and this led to many leading firms laying off workers while some withdrew from investing in new capacity. Exports almost stopped, and the country was in dire need of foreign exchange. Among key strategies on President Mutharika's economic recovery plan were to appoint a lean cabinet and introduce austerity measures. These included a moratorium on procurement of new vehicles and high-value assets, suspension of recruitment, lecture meetings and conferences, reduction of external travel by public officers, just to mention a few. This was done to control the drain of foreign exchange reserves, according to Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Decentralization, Joseph Manamveka.
The President wants to make sure that we need to restore this economy. We want to see stability. We want to see economic growth. That's why we've seen those measures. Those measures, the intention is that we need to reduce expenditure. We reduce expenditure. When we reduce expenditure, it means that obviously that will create fiscal space for us to do other development projects or priorities. That's the intention. The impact may not be immediate. It will take a bit of time. But what is important is that we are moving in the right direction. And I would want to assure you that there will be more priorities or more policy reforms that this government, the government of Professor Apm Mutharika, will be doing.
Fast forward to January 2026. The situation has changed for the better. People are able to get forex at the banks. In his New Year address, President Mutharika said Malawians made the right choice on 16 September.
In just 3 months since I assumed office, signs of recovery are already visible. Inflation is declining, meaning your savings are safer and secure today than they were a few months ago. Fuel shortages are easing, park outages are shortening, and we're moving closer to eliminating blackouts. We are actively laying the groundwork in other sectors as well. In essence, we are firmly on track with our economic recovery plan. These critical indicators are inspiring confidence among potential investors.
Gradually, companies which are due to closing for financial stress such as lack of forex are having their confidence back. For instance, Chimwemwe Josiah, managing director of Renaissance Seeds, a local seed manufacturing company, says these companies managed to import raw materials and distribute seeds in time to farmers due to availability of forex and fuel.
We are able to timely distribute the seed to our customers because when you go to the filling station, fuel has been there. And additionally, you may recall that we also use a lot of chemicals that we are importing from outside the country to manufacture our seed. And because of these austerity measures, we are able to request for forex and import our chemicals. So in a nutshell, I would say the leadership of Professor Peter Mutharika within the first 100 days has created an enabling environment as a local seed manufacturer to reach out to our farmers.
The forex challenge did not spare cross-border trade. For instance, in the border district of Unchinji, clearing companies found it hard to operate because the environment was not conducive for their businesses. But today they have got a different story to tell altogether. Monica Bonyongwa of Integrated Freight and Forwarding says the measures government has put in place are giving hope.
Forex ija ikamapezeka kwambiri idzipangitsa kuti so anthu ambiri adzibwera kudzaoda katundu ku Zambia kuja. Ndeti anthu aja akabweranso ambiri kudzaoda katundu uja adzitipangitsanso ife kuti ofesi kwathu tizikhala busy kupanga clear katundu wa anthu amene abwera aja chifukwa forex kutani ikupezeka pamene ikamasowa muja ifenso timakhala kuti tikungokhala chifukwa anthu sakubwera kudzaoda katundu.
Angela Chaumba of Cargo Connections Management shares a similar story.
Okay, impact yokuti forex ikuvuta imakhala yakulu kwambiri because the more forex ikuvuta the more katundu sabwera. Ndetu makhala ngati ifeso zatipanga impact kwambiri according to business, because ifeso timakhala tudikile unoti kodi maclient athu akakhala sana bwere revenue sitiipeza. So the more forex ilipo kuti anthu akagula katundu kunja abwera ndoti ifeso business yathu imakhala ikuyenda ndoti clearance ya katundu imakhala ikuchitika.
From a dying economy to right economic recovery path, this is so far the journey of the 100 days of Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, President of the Republic of Malawi, a return to proven leadership.